see if Ashley is going to join us.
I haven't heard anything yet.
Well, I hate to put anybody on the spot, but we'll go ahead and get started at 6 o'clock. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Pleasant View Planning Commission meeting on the 27th of May, 2021. I'd like to especially welcome those who are viewing through YouTube and look forward to any comments you might have. The person we've asked to offer our prayer and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance isn't with us. If I could ask Julie, if you please offer that for us, please.
Okay.
Keith,
Yes,
did you ask me?
I asked Julie, yes.
Okay, Yes,
Thank you, Julie.
okay. Do we do the Pledge of Allegiance first?
No, prayer first, then pledge.
Okay. Our Father in heaven, how very grateful we are this day to meet as a planning commission in order to help in the planning of Pleasant View City. And we take these responsibilities seriously and understand that we are representing our community and the values and the book and the plan that they have determined that they would like to see in their city. In all things, we express gratitude to thee, in particular for this wonderful land in which we live, a land of freedom, a beautiful city here below the mountains that gives us safety and protection, and that we have citizens who care and support each other. We pray for our armed forces that they might be safe, and we pray for the leaders of this great nation that they will lead in a manner that the citizens desire. And we ask for thy guidance and protection. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Well, we've got the flag, so if you'll lead us in the pledge, that'd be great as well.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
Are you there? Julie, are you there?
I'm sorry, Keith, I'm in the car and I hit a dead spot here. So I'll be home in about 3 minutes. I'm sorry, it just went dead.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and lead us then. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if you'll get rid of that. The beautiful flag, thank you very much. Okay, we need to ask at this time, no, first I have to read the wonderful, this might be the last time we have to read this, right, Jill? All right. In accordance with Utah State Code Section 52-4-207, Chapter 4, Paragraph A, I, Keith Priest, Pleasant View City Planning Commission Chair, hereby make the following declaration: that a state of national and state emergency has been declared in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and the Governor Cox has extended the emergency declaration for Weber County issued on July 24th and extended to May 27th, and that the state code has been amended to allow for the conduct of electronic meetings in an emergency without an anchor location, and that the Planning Commission Chair shall read or cause to be read at each electronic meeting the reasons and facts behind the declaration, and therefore Pleasant View City Planning Commission shall hold electronic meetings as provided for in state code. Signed by myself. And this time I'll ask if there's any declarations of conflicts. Hopefully everybody's looked at the packet. If there's any conflict of interest, we'd ask that you make that declaration this time. No? Okay. Then with that, I'll entertain a motion that will approve the agenda for tonight's meeting and the minutes from the April 22nd and May 6th Planning Commission meeting.
I'll make a motion that we approve the agenda for tonight and the minutes from, what were those dates again? Sorry.
You're fine. April 22nd and May 6th.
Yeah, April 22nd and May 6th. I'll go ahead and make that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
This is Dean Stokes. I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Stokes. Okay, first item on the agenda is a discussion decision site plan for commercial 3-space rental building located at the front of Wasatch View Trailer Park, parcel 19-016-0063. Jill? Jill, you're muted.
Oh,
Jill, you sound just like magpies, Jill.
That's what I could hear as well.
dang. Anyways, thank you for changing your schedule so that way we could have this meeting. As you can tell, it is a big meeting. And Dee is our applicant. He is on with us. So like you said, it is the commercial site plan is for in front of Wasatch View. And what it is, it's gonna be rental buildings. He's already got 2 of them contracted. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dee. So 2 of them. So the first, this is the layout. I don't know if you guys remember in 2019 where we fixed the subdivision. So this was 1 lot. Well, Dee got it ready and we're ready for the site plan, and it looks pretty nice. So if you can tell, right here is 2700, and this is that brand new road that's going in. It's 1740. What they'll do is they'll come in here. There's 2 drive-throughs. So pad A, there's 3 places. Here's a better view of it. It kind of clears everything up. And so as you can tell, here's the dumpster. There's lots of nice landscaping all around, so it does kind of brighten up that area. There is enough parking for the 3 places. And I don't know if you can tell, so there is 2 other future development pads. So what you'll end up doing is put 2 more pads in there. But this is the pad that we're putting before you guys right now. And here is a front view for you. It looks really nice. It does meet our standards. He does have Little Caesars and Jimmy John's ready to go in. Oh, it's wrong one. So it meets all of our standards. There's some things that we're working on the back end, which will hinder no issue towards this site plan. So that is what we're presenting before you. I don't know if you want Dee to make any comments or whatnot, but he is on there as well.
Looks pretty straightforward. Commissioners, any questions to Jill or the applicant? This can't be that easy, can it? No comments, concerns, questions?
Well, certainly not very complex.
I think it just as a kudo to Dee, it looks like a nice development, really nice.
It's going to be nice. I'm excited about it. And then we're going to shortly follow up with another building here in the next 30 days. So we're excited. So sure appreciate staff and getting us to where we are today. So we're excited.
Great.
I have a question for staff, if I might. This is Andy. How far does that new road on the left-hand side, how far does that need to be developed at this time to meet the requirements? Right now, it's just a short stub, but will it have to go past in order to meet?
It has to go to the end of the property, so that way he can be able to have that access in the back. And that's something that DNS, we're getting the finer details done, but that's what will be happening to meet our code. Good question. Thank you, Andy.
Jill, I have a question just because I'm newer and haven't ran into this before. But on the conditions where it talks about the private sewer shall be dedicated and accepted, could you maybe review that?
So let me kind of expand on that. Because of this meeting, I had to at least get you guys the packet before city council. City council was Tuesday, and the sewer was actually on that agenda. So depending on if it got tabled or anything, we wanted to make sure it was in the comments and the conditions, so if it got tabled and pushed, it would only be approved as long as that private sewer became public. Because with state law, we can't have a commercial or anybody tag onto a private sewer line. That trunk has to be public. It did go through city council. It is now ours. So that condition has now been taken care of.
Okay. So the only conditions left are the long-term stormwater management agreement and the changes to the driveways to be approved by UDOT. Is that correct?
Correct. Those are the conditions that we have.
Okay. And is there any reason to believe that there will be problems with UDOT on changing those existing driveways?
No. Dee has actually been in great communication with them. They told us we're just waiting for it on paper. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
No, these are all great questions. Thank you.
So question, so that new access that's shown on that plat,
Mhm.
is that going to be in addition to the access goes into Wasatch US States right now? You're gonna have- that will go away?
Jill, maybe I could clarify. So when I purchased the frontage of the mobile home community, I granted them a temporary easement across the property so they could use their existing drive access. And then it's anticipated that once I complete the road, as part of this project, the new intersection that we had put in, that then all their traffic will funnel out to that point. And they are in the process of construction there. So I anticipate, that drive access to their mobile home park will be gone. And it'll just be a right in, right out eventually for our development. Until they put the median in Parkland, or excuse me, before they put the median in 2700, it'll be full movement, but they're not going to put a median because they don't want to make Parkland a right in, right out. So that'll be the connection you have with Rural and White and some of these other infrastructure. So that's kind of what the history is on that access, that existing access.
We have any idea when UDOT's going to put that medium in?
No.
Well, it'll be a connection point. As soon as they get circulation, so folks in Parkland can get to Rural and White or to a light, then it'll warrant going in. It's not immediately, but they won't even look at it because they will not make Parkland a right in, right out. Now that's what's been communicated over the years to me, but I haven't spoken to that exact point in the last several months.
So there's going to be some things that we have to wait for before they even consider giving us a date.
Yeah, understand. It is dangerous down there though when you're trying to make a left and the traffic's flowing. So
Yes.
But that'll happen when.
Part of, yeah, and part of it, excuse me, but sorry to cut you off. Part of it too is when I went and had the money allocated to this, put the infrastructure in, we're still working to get the light put up. It's kind of a chicken and egg. They said, hey, when it's warranted, but our traffic study would suggest as soon as we build the first building, it'll be warranted. And so as we go forward, we're still going to push to have that light installed. All the improvements are to the light, or, to the locations, just putting the semaphore up and just, turning it on. So I think that's going to happen sooner than later, and that'll be the light there coming off, right there, that access point.
Yep, that'll be great. That'll be great. Okay, any other concerns or questions, commissioners?
No.
If not, then we'll entertain a motion.
Keith, may I ask one more question, please?
Please,
So
of course.
Jill, maybe it's a question, is there any ties? I know these two projects don't tie together, the necessarily the trailer park with this project, but is there any negatives that we need to look for, or are we missing anything as a commission to look out for on behalf of the trailer park residents? Do we need to think of anything on their behalf?
Not that I could think about. I was looking, they're gonna have that access when that road comes through. Dee's been able to give them that other access, so those access points, they still have access, so that part won't cause any issues. And
all utilities and easements and everything are still tied in together, and so that's still met?
yes, so he's not gonna tie into anything on theirs. He has to bring it from the trunks, just like anybody else. So that's not going to change anything. The only thing that changed with the trailer park is they had a stump with the sewer that kind of ran and then ran back. So the main trunk that has nothing hooked to it, he put the work through and to make sure that we could have that one trunk dedicated, so that way he can legally tie into it. It's not going to change anything for Wasatch View. If anything, it might help bring more curb appeal to the community there and make things a little bit more of a walkable area for them if they want to go grab some food. So it's kind of like a win-win for both.
The only thing, Jill, on that I would say you need to look at is that I'm still going to push to see if we can't get that bridge, from as it extends north and heading back over to, get access to Far West property. That's where they need to come across so they can get to the light as well. And so I do think that is, very realistic. Unfortunately, it's kind of a balance on, the mobile home guy going forward with his, but making sure we have a way to get a road to go across that bridge.
Yeah.
Across the canal.
Traffic wise, yes, that's something we're going to look at, but affecting the homes that are there, really, there's nothing that with this project in itself is going to cause any issues.
The storm sewer and the sanitary sewer, they're going to tie in with the Far West system, correct?
Well, it's our system, and it all goes to the Central Weaver sewer.
But eventually, right around there's a point where it's now Far West, correct?
It's Central Weaver. So Central Weaver has trunks that's actually theirs. That's why ours ties into it.
We've had engineers look at it, and there's no capacity issues or anything.
Correct.
Perfect. Okay.
Bill, or Commissioner, Chairman,
Yes.
I have one other question, and this was maybe dealt with earlier, but my sound was a little in and out until we got home. What about privacy issues or sound issues because of the proximity to homes and the trailer park? Is that a concern?
And lighting issues.
Lighting issues. I would just like to ask Dee if any concessions or anything, considerations, I guess, are being made in order to preserve the residential environment that those who live there have had.
Do you want to?
Well, I don't know if we have specifically, but to the project list, the buildings will be up toward the street on 2700. The mobile home communities, from what I understand, is going to be pretty much redeveloped right now for this as an interim. And so, you know, I don't know what concessions, the foot candle lights, the photometric plan would suggest the lights can't bleed over the property line. And they don't have any homes adjacent to the property. It'll be the clubhouse and kind of their open space area. I don't believe, Julie, they'll have, I think it's Street A is when they're going to have the homes. And so so from that standpoint, I haven't specifically done anything, but just the lay of the land, that's kind of would suggest that we don't have any lights bleeding over, and the traffic will be, you know, there'll be traffic, but it'll be minimized by having the buildings up toward 2700.
Well, and your business hours will be restrictive as well. I would suspect 9 and 10 o'clock, they'd be closed.
So I need to confirm that. It is Little Caesars and Jimmy John's. And so, I mean, they'll have their hours. It could be a little later. The other group that I'm bringing in will close at 11 o'clock at night, but it's not going to be 24. The groups we're talking to is not 24 hour, like, you know, like just the Maverick or any of the gas station Wendy's along there. So.
Okay, thank you. So Jill, has that been an issue that was brought up with engineering, light and sound ordinances?
Look at all of that, and it's in our ordinance that light can't transpose onto other properties. So that's already in there. So we're okay on that.
Okay. And I suspect the sound won't be a big issue either. I think the decibel level was actually pretty high before you're non-compliant.
And if you think about it, the sound will actually be a little bit better because the building won't be able to kind of break up the sound from 2700, and the homes will be setting a little bit farther back than what they probably would have at the beginning when Wasatch View first started.
Good point. I agree with that. Okay, commissioners, any other questions, concerns, comments? If not, this is ours, so we'll ask for a motion to approve or deny the site plan for a commercial 3-space rental building located at the front of Wasatch View Trailer Park, parcel 19-016-0063.
I'll make a motion for approval of the Wasatch View commercial project. Location that I show is 1738 West, 2700 North. Looks pretty straightforward. I think that'd be a good move to make.
Okay, we have a motion, and is there a second?
I would second that motion.
Okay, have a motion and a second. Any opposed?
Yeah, with, of course, the conditions being met as have been laid out in the staff report.
Right, thank you for bringing that up. That goes without saying. That's written documentation, and so that is part of the documentation that we looked at today. So thank you, Commissioner Barker, for bringing that up. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, motion carries. Congratulations. Thank you. We look forward to seeing that pop up.
Thank you, Dee.
We'll get going on it quickly.
I'll email. Okay.
It's technologies for the birds. Okay. Second item on the agenda is a discussion decision, conditional use for a home in Pole Patch, parcel 16-009-0051.
Okay. So here is, the lot is extremely large. If you have been up to Pole Patch, it's one of the top ones, the lot. Here's the layout. Well, first, before I kind of jump into it, give you a little bit of backstory of why you have a conditional use for a home on your agenda? Well, with anything that is in A5 zoning, it's a conditional use. So homes, garages, barns, greenhouses, you name it, it has to go before you guys. So here's the lot. It sets back quite a bit. We do require geotech tests and everything up there because of the fault line and the sensitive land areas. So everything is looked at for safety reasons and to make sure our water quality is still there. This is the home that they're hoping to build, if you guys approve it, which is permitted, but with conditions, which I'm not sure if you were able to read your packet, but they've met all of the conditions that we've required. So it's not a huge home, but it's a very pretty home. So it sets back far enough. They meet all the conditions. The slopes are just fine, especially where they're putting the house. So that is why it's before you guys. As city staff, we don't see any issues here. Again, because it meets everything with the zoning and the requirements. We have received some calls regarding the lot. The neighbor just kind of, I would say, northwest. Just wanted to make sure that we looked at everything. There is a parcel that is outside of Pleasant View that called and talked to me. They wanted me to make sure I let you guys know there is a prescriptive easement per se to be able to get onto their property. I did look with Weber County. It is not recorded. I couldn't see anything on a map. So there's nothing that we can do to enforce it. They just wanted us to let you guys know in the meeting. They do have another way to get to their property, and that one is recorded. So again, they just wanted me to let you guys know. Other than that,
Amy, maybe you can educate us. How does that legally work when you have a prescriptive right that falls into place because of a time allowance? Is it somebody's responsibility to pay the fees to have that recorded? Or does the city naturally just record it? Or how does that work? Say you go 20 years and you've had access.
So from what I understand it, I mean, this is not a great answer for you, Chair, sorry, but it really is dependent on the circumstance and sometimes what's negotiated. So typically we would ask the property owner to cover that. However, there are some instances where we may work with them and be able to help out a little bit depending on the circumstances again. So sorry, clear as mud, right?
Well, no, I'm just curious. I'm actually concerned if the neighbor brought up that he has or she has a prescriptive right and it's not recognized by the county, then how is that legally enforced? And is there really a prescriptive right? And if there is, how does that get recorded?
so I actually spoke with the property owner's lawyer. They called and just said, hey, and with the conversation that we had, they just wanted it noted in our meeting in case this other one that is actually recorded, it actually legally put on the lot that they do have access from, if anything ever happens. And in the conversation, I did state to them, I said, because you have that, that's great, and I'm more than happy to at least note it in the meeting. I said, but unfortunately, as a city, unless they talk to the property owners and they kind of work that out and get it recorded, the city, unfortunately, I have no teeth in the game.
No, I understand. And I think the fact that we're having this discussion on a recorded meeting and the comments will be in the notes.
Yes.
And everything is on notice and applicable.
And he agreed. So he said, as long as we put it in the meeting, the property owner's happy, he's happy, and that's great.
Okay, I have one other question in regards to secondary water. Is Pineview available up there? It is
No.
not.
No.
Do they have water, secondary water?
With Pole Patch, because it's within the Pole Patch subdivision, they are the only exception to the rule. They do have, ordinances up there. Our ordinances up there only state that they can only have so much landscaping. Like they cannot landscape their whole lot. It is against our ordinances up there, because again, we're trying to conserve water where we can and not have it go hog wild up there. So they do have that ordinance. And I don't know, I can show you.
No, I think that's okay. The other question I have is Northview Fire District. Do they have fire hydrants up there?
They do.
Okay, all right. So there are means to put out a fire if one is started, unfortunately.
Mr. Chairman, may I piggyback onto that comment? Because that was one of my questions also on the water was, Jill, because this comes up every so many years, not only to us, but also to city council, I know there's a limit on what they can develop. I know that there's no Pine View up there, secondary water. Do these have these people been made notice? They do know those two requirements, that it is city water and they're only allowed to use so much city water or develop so much of it. So they're aware of that. They can't come back in so many years and ask for reduction in their city water bill because they have been made notice of that ahead of time.
I do write it on every Pole Patch home on their permits. So they are fully aware and it's documented. And that's one reason why we have this conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Jill?
Sorry, I just had a quick question, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Please.
Jill, you stated that they have fire hydrants up in Pole Patch. My understanding is that each house has to be equipped with a sprinkling system because there are no fire hydrants because there's no secondary water.
They have some fire hydrants. They do. Depending on the size of the home, they do require sprinkling systems. And that's another reason why we have them go through this process, because Ryan does have to approve everything.
What is the square footage for the suppressions required?
I'd have to look further into that one and also speak with Ryan to make sure nothing has changed.
But this house probably falls under that square footage?
I don't think so.
So are you saying that this home will be fire suppressed?
They're close enough to a fire hydrant. That was one question that was brought up, and Ryan said he was fine with the home where it's at. And he received all these plans. So yes, that's why he said he was fine with it as long as it stayed where it was with the fire hydrants, because they have to have so many feet to a fire hydrant. That's the biggest thing.
So then the ordinance reads, if they're not within a fire hydrant of so many feet, then they have to have a sprinkler system built into their home.
And he was fine with this length.
Okay, I just want to make sure that our ordinances are clear. It sounds kind of like ambiguous that, yeah, this house has to have a fire system, but this one doesn't have to. And I'm trying to ask, is it square footage or what determines that?
Certain houses, if they hit a certain square footage, yes, require it. However, that I believe has changed, and I would have to hop in and look to see when that changed. Up there, if they are too far from a fire hydrant, yes, they would have to do some type of fire suppression. This one is not too far.
Can we have that as a point of topic for a debate or discussion in the future, please? Let's go over that ordinance and review it so we're all somewhat clear.
Yes.
I'm not at all.
That would be good.
All right, thank you.
Chairman,
Yes.
I've got a question just for my own understanding. When properties like this are being built in where they have their own covenants and regulations as well, which Pole Patch does, do they come and is it approved by the city and then it's taken to the Pole Patch Association, Or do they go to the Pole Patch Association and come up with the plans, and then it comes to us for approval within the city ordinances or the planning commission ordinances? I would just like to be clear and have an understanding of this process.
To be honest, I don't know. I would assume they would go to Pole Patch, because depending, I know with Pole Patch, they have very specific designs and things like that. So I would assume that they would go to Pole Patch first. I've actually had conversations with some residents where they think Pole Patch has the final say, where ultimately our ordinances are our ordinances. They all have to abide by our ordinances. So things have changed. And then they've had to go back to Pole Patch and ask some questions, but that was the last thing I've ever heard. So.
But usually if there's an ordinance change, then there's a grandfather clause, correct?
Not if it's a new building.
No, not a new building. I'm talking about existing.
So if it's an existing and our ordinance has changed, then yes, it would be considered grandfathered. But most likely is we try not to cause issues and have things grandfathered in. We do learn from other mistakes or issues. So yeah, if something is already done and we change it, it would be considered grandfathered. Unless they change it, then they would have to bring it up to city standard.
Well, I think the reason why we're having this discussion, we're all aware of the fires that we've had the past 2 years where things, one kind of got out of hand and the other one could have very easily got out of hand. So, I mean, that's the problem when you have folks living in an area that doesn't have a lot of water protection or watershed.
Mm-hmm.
It just becomes fire waiting to explode, I guess. Terrible analogy, but.
And that's why we have changed our ordinances. And if you don't have secondary water, it's really a non-starter. Right then and there. Sarah, do you have other questions, or you just left your hand up? Or
Who's that?
Sarah?
Sarah, your hand's up. I guess she doesn't have a question.
Yeah.
All right. Any other concerns, questions on this agenda item? If not, this is ours once again, so we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the conditional use for the home in Pole Patch parcel 16-009-0051. Hello? This is where you get to do your civic duty.
Well, this must be a very ominous project because everybody's hesitant to move forward. So I'll go out on a limb. It looks to me like everything is in order, and the provisions that are in place will take care of a lot of the questions that we have, providing that the conditions indicated in the study have met. I make a motion to approve the development at 4980 North Pole Patch Drive. I guess Gary Davis is the petitioner.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. This is Alicia.
Okay, Commissioner Lund has seconded the motion from Commissioner Cummings. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, motion carries. Recommendation is approved. All right, we are now going to move into legislative. First will be a discussion. These will be recommendations to the City Council. First one is a rezone from RE20 to RE15 for the Dixon property located at 344 West Pleasant View Drive, parcel 17-058-0011. Jill will walk us through.
Okay, Sorry, I was finishing writing things down.
You're good.
I stay on top. Okay, so here is the parcel. We've had quite a few people call. Yes, they have the weirdest address. But Stacy's gonna email me and we can get that fixed. Stacy Dixon is the applicant. She is actually on the phone with us. So if you can tell where this is, here's Lowman View Nursery. Here's Pleasant View Drive. It's this larger lot, just off of the road. The current zone is RE20. The general plan shows 2 to 3 units per acre. So with that being said, it does fit the general plan. I looked at spot zoning. It's not spot zoning unless, and I'll explain it in just a second. So here's the layout she's hoping for. Is this going to be exactly what she's going to get? Probably similar, as long as it meets all the conditions and the standards with the city. The driveway probably not going to be, it won't be able to be on that corner. However, so the question was brought up, would it be considered spot zoning because there's not a lot of 3rd acre lots, if you can tell. The closest one is just to the west and then clear up north on Alberta. So with spot zoning is if we changed this lot, and this lot to RE15 and nothing else around it kind of matches. So we've done that where we've rezoned just that one chunk. If you remember the Hadley property, we just rezoned that back end. But if you remember, the whole area around it was RE15. So it's still kind of blended with it. So that's not considered spot zoning. So what she's hoping for is to have this whole lot RE15. So this bigger lot, which she would occupy, and the 3 other little lots would be RE15. So again, that's what she's requesting.
Can you go back to the map, please, that shows thank you. So all of that in yellow is currently RE15 or RE20?
RE20, right?
So this darker green over here, it's kind of like,
RE15.
that's
I'm
our,
talking-
I can't tell if that's like a yellowish green or a green.
So yellow, where you have the red highlight, all of that is RE20.
Yes.
And so how would this not be spot zoning if everything around that is RE20 and we're going to allow RE15 for this one parcel of ground to be subdivided?
That's a good question. It's because it's a subdivision and there's more than one lot.
Commissioner or Chairman, I've got a question on that. Even though she's showing a plan that has 3 homes on the how many acres is it? 2.44 acres. This shows 3. We changed the zone to RE15, and we're looking at the potential of double that, or actually maybe even more, because once we change the zoning, then they really are allowed to put on whatever we have changed the zoning for.
Right.
And so really a preliminary plan doesn't mean that much.
So
And that is a concern that I have. Also, it seems like in that area, maybe I'm wrong, but it seemed like, is there a creek in that area? Or as I've looked at that area, the natural vegetation seemed I'm not sure, a wetland, but definitely there was a creek, right?
There's a creek, yes.
Okay, so,
So okay. What we're looking at is if you want this lot to be rezoned.
yes. And that's what I'm looking at. And that's why I'm going through it in my mind.
The subdivision aspect isn't what's on here. This is just a concept plan. If she does come through for a preliminary, there's gonna have to be some changes made because it has to meet certain standards that we have as a city. So this is just her idea.
Yeah, and I realize it's a concept plan, but because it's a concept plan, it really is subject to change to whatever we change the zoning for.
Yes, and you hit a key point. And this is one thing I tell you guys with every rezone. Once you rezone it, anything within that zone, you're allowing. The difference on this one, we allow residential. And one of the mayor brought up, you know, with that layout is you're gonna have to do the whole thing for one, because spot zoning, you can get in trouble with. And because it's one whole lot, and here's the key piece, it meets the general plan. So with that being said, we didn't want 3 homes surrounded by an RE20 with animals. Does that make sense? Because RE20, you can have certain animals. And so that was discussed in our meeting. And so Stacy thought, okay, well then let's rezone the whole thing. So that's the history behind the conversation on that aspect. Really, go ahead.
I'd like to chime in. And we've spent a lot of time over the years going through our master plan, our community plan, our zoning, our ordinances. And one of the things that we was really cautious about was spot zoning.
Mm-hmm.
That creates problems that just can go into all kinds of different things. Like you said, Joe, we rezone that whole piece. Well, now that whole piece can be everything that fits the R15 ordinance fits that piece of property. So I personally don't feel this is even a starter conversation.
And that is just fine.
But that's just me, commissioners.
Now, the way it's zoned now,
Mm-hmm.
RE20, it actually allows the 3 homes that they are conceptually showing.
If the lots were a half-acre lot. That's the caveat.
Yeah, the problem there, Commissioner Farr, would be the infrastructure, road, sidewalks.
So could she subdivide with RE20? Yes. Those lots would just have to be bigger. So really, this is brought to you because she applied for an application for a rezone. We look at it, make sure legally it's doable, and if it meets our general plan, which it does. So at staff standpoint, is it doable? Yes. That's why we had both you guys and the city council to make sure if you feel now's the time, go for it. If you don't, then no. That's why we have this process to make sure it goes through the process and you guys look at it as a city, a whole, and try and make the best decision you guys feel is right for the city.
Thank you. And this is just a recommendation to city council. So
correct.
They can approve or deny whatever we recommend, and we understand that. So any other questions or concerns?
Alicia?
Yeah, I need a review. I'm failing to connect the reasons why it's part of the the plan and how it's not spot zoning. I didn't, like, I listened but I wasn't able to connect those dots. Re-explain.
So, no, good question. With the plan, the general plan shows 2 to 3 units per acre. So I can't pull it up. This computer will take too long.
With her house and the 1, 2, 3 other lots, that's 4. So go ahead.
But she has almost 2.5 acres. And the reason why she was hoping to do 3rd-acre lots is so she could have still a good chunk of her lot still there. With the spot zoning. Looking at it, if you were doing 1 lot and everything around, mind you, they still have a whole bunch of area up just, let me see if I can share it again so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This might help. So this area right here, it shows a road. There's no road there. It's technically not developed per se. So if she rezones that huge parcel and has a few lots in there, that it's still within our general plan. And if it has the potential of rezoning it here because there's no development. So for example, can you see, say, like these homes right here? If they wanted to rezone this and put a road up this way, I mean, it's more than 1 lot for one. These guys could subdivide or split off their lot and have another lot in the back. But see these ones? If they said, okay, I want to subdivide, I don't know whose lot this is, so please, if you're listening, I'm not calling anybody out on their lots, but say they wanted to cut this in half because it's big enough and they wanted a bigger backyard and they own 2 lots. That's spot zoning saying, okay, 1 lot, nothing around it can possibly develop unless they vacate roads, tear down houses. But because it's an actual subdivision, you still have to be okay. That's why I did the research. It's technically not spot zoning. They have it over here. It's not ideal, but it's technically not spot zoning. They have it over here, they have it up here. So within the general plan, this could easily be rezoned if someone asked. That's why it's not spot zoning.
Well, that's why it's not spot zoning, but in reality, it absolutely is spot zoning.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I give my comments? I had a few thoughts on this during the week as I was looking at this. My first initial thought was, everything on the upper side of Pleasant View Drive looked to be RE20. As I looked at the general plan, it could be open to interpretation that it could be moved to an RE15 and still fit with the general plan. But as I looked at it, I thought as long as the entire thing was moved to RE15, I could be talked into it. One thing that I did not like is all of it has to be RE15 or not, because I did pick up on the animal thing and I thought I would not want to have part of it RE15 and not. The other part is I don't like the thought is, to me, that the plan of the 4 houses does not fit, because I don't like that someday someone's going to try to build another home in there or subdivide that awkward piece, and it's landlocked without 100-foot frontage for anything else, and someone's going to try to come in and subdivide that 2.5 acres, and there's no other acreage for a 100-foot frontage on that. And so in a sense, that 2.5 acres, someone's going to come in the future and try to subdivide that. And so to me, that entire piece still boils down to, it's an RE20. And so to me, it fits the surrounding area. And then the only other piece that if we make a recommendation or we don't make a recommendation for the RE15, I would still like us to make sure that we put in our recommendation that the driveway on the corner does not, either way, one way or the other, does not get approved, or that we make sure that staff does not allow that driveway on the corner, because I don't like the way that has the potential of being a traffic issue. So those are some of my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Keith, did we open the public hearing?
Not yet.
I'm
Still asking commissioners for questions.
Oh, that's fine.
May I ask another question? And I'm
Please.
sorry, but I'm still trying to get educated on
Please.
a number of things. So with the plan or her desire to have that number of houses, and I understand the way it's zoned now makes it not possible to get those 3 extra homes. However, do the variances cover that she could ask for a variance if one of those lots was a little small, that she could have a variance and still create what they're looking at doing on that property, even though one lot was maybe smaller or not?
That is a great question. I'm glad you asked that.
I actually don't think it's a great question, because variances are supposed to be the exception, not made as part of the rule.
Right, so that's a good question, because variances are very unique. Unfortunately, variances don't give you zoning changes. It doesn't give you a variance to have smaller lots.
Okay.
Variances are mainly for things that are out of your control to be able to, for example, build a lot. There are some lots up in a different subdivision. The buildable lot area, yes, met all of our standards. Everything was great. However, to have it be to the point where a home, no matter what size, was built, it wasn't safe. So a variance was granted because a ravine, to have it closer as a setback. The setbacks were changed a little bit, but a variance does not go for, I want a lot, and because of the way my lot is, I want it changed a little bit. I want a variance. That does not count towards this. The
So,
layout is
Mr.
not our ideal layout, and again, it's just an idea. So
Thank you for explaining that. I may be the only one who's really not up to
Mr. Chairman, may I make
Thank
a
you.
comment?
Please, Sarah, go ahead.
So my understanding of variances is like along the lines of Jill, you can't ask for a variant on a standard or what is written in an ordinance as far as what 100 feet of frontage and things like that. Those are written in standards. Variances aren't allowed on those particular issues. They still have to meet the standards to meet what the subdivision requires. That's
Yes.
my understanding.
variances are different. They're more geared towards something that is out of your control. And it can't be financial issues. If it's doable, then there's no reason for a variance, and it's not just our code, guys. It is state code. They have to hit certain requirements, all of them, in order to be able to have that ability to present everything to a board.
This could be also for future training, but for this issue, it's a new point right now.
Right.
I'll entertain a motion at this time that we open up for public hearing.
I'll make a motion that we open the public hearing at this time.
Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. And Andy opposed, say aye. Okay, we're now in public hearing. Comments? Jill, anything from YouTube?
I'm looking, there are no comments at this time.
Any written notices or letters or anything that has come to you?
I've gotten some phone calls from some people both on council with questions. more trying to figure out what the plan is, why. And Andy's called. But other than that, really no. No residents have called, no one's emailed me, no one's written anything. Nothing's on YouTube. So
if that's the case, then I'll entertain a motion that we close public hearing.
Make a motion that we close public hearing at this time.
And a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Further discussion, commissioners?
Do we have any comments from the petitioner that might bear on our discussion?
Certainly always welcome to speak up and talk.
Hi there. The only thing I wanted to say is that we've since, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, Stacy. Thank you.
That we have since decided against the driveway idea. We're going to keep our regular driveway. And so what we would be doing is scooting over the boundaries of those two lots on that corner to meet each other.
Does
that make sense?
Yeah, just for the record, if you would, please state your name and address, if you would.
Yes, of course. My name is Stacy Dixon, 344 West Pleasant View Drive.
Thank you. And so what you just said is you've modified your conceptual drawing already with the driveway, correct?
We haven't even drawn it up with an engineer yet, but yes, we have decided not to go forward with having the driveway and to just squish those two lots together so they meet there at the corner.
So I have a question for you, and it's, I mean, it is one that pertains to our zoning. You have enough ground there that you could subdivide and have 3 homes meeting the RE20. You would lose some of the 2.5 acres that you want to retain, but you could still make it work in the RE20 zone.
Right, that's correct. The whole point of us buying this property, though, was to have the trees and the creek, the beautiful ambiance. And so, of course, we want to sell as little of it as possible. The reason we're even considering selling any of it, we don't want to, but to be able to renovate the old house that we bought, we need to have a little bit more income.
So then with that in mind, you could go 2 lots and still keep your 2.5 acres. I guess my concern as the chairman of this commission is we talk all the time about spot zoning and how we really try hard to avoid that. And here we have an application that comes in that's asking us to do this very same thing, is to spot zone. And I personally, I'm not feeling comfortable, especially where I feel that you've got the ground that you can go ahead and subdivide your property and stay within the RE20.
So if we did divide off 2 half-acre lots, we would be having to cut down some of the most beautiful trees, and that's the main #1 reason. And I was thinking, and maybe I don't understand spot zoning, but I was thinking that Jill's point was that spot zoning is if there's only 1 lot being given special consideration. But if there's going to be 3 third-acre lots on our property, then it seems like it's not spot zoning, but I could just be showing my ignorance of that principle.
No, I don't think it's your ignorance, and maybe it's my ignorance, but I look at one big parcel of property and we say it's an RE20, now we're going to rezone it. And because there's more than 1, it's not spot zoning because we're going to have 3. And that kind of doesn't make a lot of sense to me, because really what we're doing is we are rezoning the 1 big lot to accommodate.
Okay, so I
That's
guess
what I
my question would just be, as long as I am meeting all the state and city codes, I don't understand the problem, even if it seems a little irregular or strange.
Well, that's a fair question. And that's why we have planning commissions and city councils. Whatever we decide tonight, you still have another avenue. If we turn you down, you can take it to city council. If we approve it, city council can still deny it. So there is that avenue that works for the best interest of the applicant and the city.
That makes sense.
Commissioners, questions, comments, concerns,
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
please.
I'm not voting tonight because I'm an alternate, but I would be in favor of the rezone simply because it fits the master plan. And I get Jill's point that we're doing multiple parcels that are rezoned and not just a single one. But I think if it's denied, maybe it prevents everyone else within that zone from potentially rezoning, and they're conforming to the master plan. And I don't know. I mean, we had master plan was designed and with this in mind, I think, and so I think where she's asking for something that's not contrary to what the city adopted a few years ago, I would be in favor of it.
Well, there's one person that's disagreeing with you.
Well, I understood that no matter what we decide, it never sets a precedence for what we can decide in the future.
I think that's a correct statement. The rezones are, I mean, that's why they have the two form of bodies. There's no precedent that's set or established.
Maybe,
Yeah.
Jill, you can explain to me again how you take one parcel of land and because you're dividing it into multiples, it's not spot zoning. I guess I can't wrap my mind around that because it is one parcel of land.
And yes,
So I could, but
This is just a
I'm
rezone, it has nothing to do.
right. So
It's just a rezone.
zoning,
Is it,
I'm gonna be honest, I'm not 100% pro at this either. Believe it or not, I call the ombudsman and they probably know me by name and they probably memorize my phone number. But neither here nor there, because I call them a lot, because certain things I'm like, okay, I'm confused. But with this parcel, because the intent is to subdivide more than one lot, it technically is not spot zoning. And that's what I can tell you.
Mr.
can you tell
Chairman?
me can you tell me what spot zoning is?
I can. Go ahead.
So spot zoning, if the intent was not to subdivide, nor could they subdivide technically, say this was a half-acre lot, everything around it is developed as half-acre, there was only one chunk where it was ability to have an RE15 and you have one lot, and that one lot cannot subdivide at all, that is the key example of spot zoning.
Or if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Please.
for instance, if you have a subdivision and some of them are half acre, some of them are third acre in the same subdivision, voila, spot zoning.
Well, only if there's an application. I mean, I'm in a subdivision where it's RE20 and I've got a,
If it's being done at the
Lot.
same time.
So spot zoning,
If it's being done at the same time, if the applicant is coming in at the same time to subdivide and create a subdivision, you can't pick and choose within the subdivision to have different sized lots that are not, you know what I'm saying? If a parcel of land is subdivided and then you still have fields that are left and the general plan is adjusted and things like that, and people come back to subdivide the empty land, that doesn't necessarily have to match the neighboring land if the general plan supports what they want to do.
here's a great example, and Ashley, this might help you. Say with this parcel, she wanted to subdivide it into 4 lots, kind of what she's hoping to. And she said, okay, this lot, I want RE15, these 2 lots, RE20, because I can get those, and then this one, RE15. That is another example of spot zoning.
no, that's a good example.
if it was just splitting in half, like, for example, the Hadley subdivision, that was a great example where everything on the front, yes, was RE20, so it matched everything, it flowed, and the back, all of those were RE15. So by splitting that one lot and having that back lot as RE15 and the front as RE20, it flowed and it technically is not spot zoning. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Kind of.
Yes.
It's not my favorite thing, you know.
But then correct me, she is doing like 3 third-acre lots and then a 2.44 acre lot, but it's in R15.
Yes, but the zone is all the same. So for example, a lot of the subdivisions, if you have a corner lot, the size is larger than the interior lots, but the zone is the same.
That comes later in preliminary, when she comes in for preliminary plat. Right now, you're just discussing the zone change. Whether or not after, if it's approved tonight and approved at city council when it comes to me and the rest of the council members, then the real fun begins. Can they meet the standards and conditions? And what you're talking about right now actually comes then at that step, and then it will come back to you again. And so right now is the zone change relevant to what, you know, does it meet the conditions and all that with the general plan and all that? Is that applicable in this area?
Right.
The wonky size of the subdivision and whatever else will come when preliminary plat comes.
Right, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
Does
focused
that
on
make
that.
sense? Does that make sense?
These are
Yes,
all really good
only in the
questions.
example that Jill gave that this, you know, this would be, yeah, no. We're good.
Good
Is there a
question.
way we can see a
Really
map?
good
of
questions.
the-
Yeah.
I appreciate these questions a lot.
Very good questions.
Ashley, you was asking, is there a way we can what?
Just on this meeting, see the map of the future land use. Like if it meets that plan, should we not be seeing that plan too at the same time? Just so we could feel better about it. I think that would make everyone feel better.
It actually is Chairman Priest, could I make a comment?
Please.
In looking at it, when you look at the master plan or the general plan, all of that property has the potential of being RE15. So now I'm playing the devil's advocate here, if you will, and saying, because they are the first ones requesting this zone change for what is shown in the general plan, do we have a natural hesitancy just in starting that process? Because it does show it in the future land use map of being RE15. It shows the properties above it being RE15. So it feels like a spot zone because they are the first.
My concern, just to be very honest, and I know it's economics 101, I get it. But if you're gonna ask for a zone change, then have a reason for a zone change. If you got enough property that you can meet the zoning requirements as currently stated, then go ahead and do your development without making any application. So 2 homes could fit on there easily, or the 2.5 acres left could be divvied up a little bit where you could still have 3 homes that meet the RE20 ordinance.
Yeah.
If I may,
Please.
I say, I like the idea that if she does do the zone change, then she can keep the beautiful trees that are there. I think she wants to protect some of that land that's there and not like divide up the creek or, you know, cut down some gorgeous trees. I think the root systems are really important that we have here in Pleasant View, and I would not like to disturb that at all if we could not. I feel like because of what is directly northeast of her is not built yet, and that it's still open to zone changing. And in the future land use map, it says RE15. And because of the fact that Utah is in a major housing crisis and our prices of homes are going up and up and up and up and up, and lumber is going up and up and up, and people need homes. People are coming here to live here in Utah, and we need to make room for them. I feel like this zone change is not a bad idea, that it's actually a positive.
Okay. Any other comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion that we approve or deny the applicant's request that we rezone. Recommend to City Council, recommend or deny approval of the rezone of RE20 to RE15 for the Dixon property located at 344 West Pleasant View Drive.
May I just make one more quick comment?
Please.
All I wanted to say was just, I recognize that you want to look to the future of what is the reason for the rezone, but I just asked you to maybe just keep in mind that this is just about the rezone. And so it really has nothing to do with what the subdivision will look like. And that's subject to approval later. And you always have the opportunity to talk about that and deny that later. It basically, the point is just to see if it meets code and standards to be able to do this rezone. And I hope you can take that as a separate thing, because that's basically what it is. It's just, that's the point, just to see if it's okay to do a rezone. And it meets all the criteria as far as I can tell. And so that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think sometimes we just have to work through it. I don't think that there's, a problem, but I think sometimes it is something that we just need to wrap our minds around. And I think we've gotten explanations, really good explanations from Jill tonight. So.
And Keith, if you don't mind if I say one last thing.
Please.
The discussion that we had was a really good one. I think it was very well rounded. I don't think you guys were jumping too far ahead of what a rezone application is. So, I mean, good on you guys. This was a really great discussion. But don't take everything and just say, well, just do this. If you do what you feel is right, that's why it comes to you guys. If you feel this is the time to do it, then you vote that way. If you feel that it's not, you vote that way. That is why you are asked and appointed to be on this committee. And that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you. So once again, entertain a motion to recommend approval or denial of this applicant's request.
I'd like to make the motion that we approve the zone change to RE15 from RE20 on, is it 344 West Pleasant View Drive?
Yes.
Recommend.
I'll second it.
She said
Oh,
approve.
I
but
recommend, sorry.
So we have a motion from Commissioner Lund and a second from who?
Walker.
Ashley.
Ashley. Okay.
This was recommend to approve.
I recommend to approve, correct.
Okay.
Any opposed, say
Can
aye.
we do a voting or a call out so I know is there?
Yeah, go ahead. I'm against.
Keith. Okay, Jim.
I'm in favor.
Ashley.
I seconded it. Yep.
Okay. Dean.
I'm for. Approve.
Sorry, Jeff, you're an alternate. Alicia, you said yes, correct?
Yes.
Julie.
I'm going to say yes, because it does correspond with our future land use map. And
No explanation needed. The motion.
It's just
goes
a
into
yes
the
or
city
no.
council.
And then last would be Andy.
No.
Okay, thank you. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 yeses to 2 no's. So the recommendation will go to city council.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stacy. Appreciate your time.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next item is legislative. It's a discussion and recommendation to city council This is a text change in the ordinance, mixed use west, 20.40.200, description and intent applied to parcels along and north of 2700 north to the north city boundary between the railroad tracks and I-15. I think I understand what you're doing there, but maybe if you could just give us a 50,000 foot view.
You got it. I thought about that, so here you go. So as you can tell, the current, oh, where's my, there it is. Here's the current verbiage of the location, and it's outlined in yellow. What we were hoping to change is to add just that strip right there and this parcel, the Fleming parcel, to be more specific. You can't, it's kind of hard to see, but it's on the other side of Highway 89. That way, again, it's not saying that we're going to rezone all of these to the MUW. It's just changing the verbiage within the ordinance to allow it in that area. So, for example, on 2700 north of Highway 89, this would need to be an option for a zone. Does that make sense? So it's just adding a little bit more verbiage to have that open on the other side of the train tracks and then add that one parcel.
It looks good and sounds good to me. I mean, are there any legalese that we need to worry about?
Amy, do you have any comments on that? I didn't see anything, and this is a public hearing, just so when you're ready, as long as we do that public hearing and you recommend whatever you decide tonight on this to city council, we will do it legally and the right way.
Okay. Yeah, and I concur with Jill. I think as long as we kind of follow that protocol, we're in a fine place with this.
Perfect.
I did send a corrected staff report out to you guys. Did you get that?
We did.
I'm human, and I will admit I totally botched the second part.
Any questions for Jill? Okay, then I'll entertain a motion that we open up for a public hearing.
Oh, I think Jeff had a question.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Jeff.
You know, you're fine. I was just going to ask: does the change contradict anything that? So if we recommend the change, does including that strip of land contradict any other ordinance? So that strip is, you know, has two.
Thanks, Jeff. That was my question as well. Are there legal requirements or legalese things that are going to be affected by the verbiage change?
Currently, there's no zone or no place that's using this zone. There's no overlay issues because this is an actual zone, not an overlay. So from what I could find, there's no issues in changing this small chunk of verbiage, but that's a great answer. Great question. Thank you, Jeff. You guys keep me on my toes and I appreciate it.
All right, then we'll entertain a motion to open a public hearing.
I make a motion that we open the public hearing.
Commissioner Farrs made a motion that we open public hearing. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Lund has seconded. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, we're now in a public hearing. Jill, any comments from YouTube or letters or phone calls or people banging down the door saying you can't do this? No pitchforks?
Nope, I still have my head, so we're good. No, nothing on any of those. No comments, no emails, no letters, no nothing.
Okay, then at this time, I'll entertain a motion that we close the public hearing.
I will motion that we close the public hearing.
Commissioner Lund makes a motion that we close. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Commissioner Walker makes a second. Any opposed? Say aye. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Further discussion, commissioners? If not, then we'll entertain a motion that we recommend approval or denial to the, that we recommend. Well, I don't know what we're going to recommend. I'm
You
going
can
to hear it.
recommend approval.
You guys are going to
or
make a
denial.
recommendation that we approve or deny this text change to go to city council.
I'll make a recommendation at this time that we recommend to a city council a text change as recommended by the staff.
Okay, thank you.
I second
have a-
that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any opposed? Okay, recommend goes forward to city council
Wow, you guys are a lot faster than I thought.
for approval, that is, so. All right. Item number 5, commission communications. Anybody have anything? I liked our discussions today. I did. I liked them all. I think that there's some areas that we need training on, especially the water issues up in the Pole Patch. And are there any areas that Pleasant View City is responsible for that are unincorporated?
Well, are
That's
we
what I was-
talking about water or are we talking about property?
About fire protection, about all that stuff. I mean, usually the county takes over with unincorporated, but if there's little pockets, sometimes the city just absorbs those.
This would be a great question for Ryan Parker. I had to think what the name was. I was just talking to him today. But Ryan, there are agreements between the counties and Northview Fire. So they kind of help each
Can
other.
we invite, Jill, can we invite Ryan to come to one of our meetings?
I have it down to ask him.
You are great. Thank you.
I hear and I write it down.
Appreciate that. Any other things, commissioners, that you'd like to discuss? Concerns, comments, things that you feel, I don't know, I hope nothing keeps you up at night, but things that you wonder about. If you could wonder out loud, we can talk about it.
Jill, just a reminder, I won't be at our next meeting, please.
Got it.
Let's see, I haven't heard a motion on that yet. Just joking, Andy. Whatever you're doing, have fun. Our meeting is next Thursday, correct?
Yes, do you want me to go ahead with some stuff or do you want to finish your commission communication?
I don't have anything else. Commissioners, anything you'd like to say or add or? No? Okay, we'll go to item number 6, staff communications training.
Okay. Next week, we have one item. I will talk to Ryan to see if he'd be willing to come next week. So stay tuned on that one. So our agenda may change. I will be sending out the agenda later tonight for next week. It will be in-house. So yes, you can come to the city. If you don't feel comfortable, we don't want to push you. We will still have Zoom for those that aren't comfortable with that yet. So if you have questions, feel free to give me a call or whatnot. We want to help you guys feel comfortable, but we're trying to update and with the new things with the state. So
I appreciate all that, and I'm grateful that we've had this technology during the last year. It's been wonderful. But I, for one, after spending 5 or 6 hours every day looking at faces on a screen, I'm about ready to go berserk. So,
this reminds me of the Brady Bunch. Please tell me you guys used to watch that. You know, but anyways, so we'll have the one item. If Ryan can't come, it'll just be that one. I will talk to Ryan about Pole Patch up there and see if he can come in and kind of give you some rundowns on what the fire suppression and kind of talk to you guys and train you guys about the whole
okay.
fire.
Any other training items you guys would like to hear from staff?
What about if I talk to Tyson, our public works director? He is very knowledgeable with some of the sensitive lands up there and kind of have him come and kind of explain some things to you guys and be able to answer some questions. How would you guys feel about that?
That'd be great. I have questions about wells and access to wells and protection of wells and all that good stuff. So Tyson would be the one that could answer those questions, right?
He is very knowledgeable with all that. You name it, he could probably just find it in his brain and be able to recite everything. He's very knowledgeable. So we'll start with those two. How does that work?
Sounds great.
Okay.
Anything else? Sarah, you want to bring up anything with the
Sure.
Founders Day?
So Tuesday, City Council approved a request, an RFP to go out for a transportation, master, help me out, Amy, transportation master road plan. That's all inclusive to funding for, to be able to assess our impact fees if we are, collecting enough for what we need to, the impact fees from developers with the size of our roads and things like that. And also to study our roads to come up with a better maintenance plan. And it's all inclusive. Amy, help me out. There's 3 main components of the plan.
Yeah, no problem. So one of them, I guess, it's the general transportation master plan to look at all of the aspects in the city. The first main thing is the capital improvements. And so looking out long-term, where do we need improvements based on the current roadway conditions? And we've already done some assessments there, but part of that portion of the plan is to actually align the city with different funding sources and a strategic plan moving forward, and how best to repair those roadways and that. The second one, as Councilmember Yuri referenced, is more focused on the impact fees. And so that's really focusing on what type of uses are going to happen in different areas. Right now, we don't really have roadway impact fees that are in place. And so this is going to help provide some clarification with that and help, because right now with city developments that are coming in, and we have more and more coming in, which is so exciting, but the city hasn't had the funding necessarily to back some of the things that are happening. And so that's really going to help with that. Then the third central component of the plan is actually an active transportation piece, and we've received a grant from UDOT. It's actually a very generous grant, so they give us $36,000 and we contribute $4,000, and so about half of the plan will have that component addressed as part of that, and really look at how we can meld and properly have active transportation with our vehicular transportation to make sure we have some safe route options and really be able to utilize that. And so it's going to give us a lot of options and a lot of great information that the Planning Commission and the City Council will be able to rely on. So we're looking forward to going out for RFP on that. And I think Sarah, our Councilmember Yuri, is going to be on our committee with that, and we're excited to have her. And it's going to be really a positive thing for the city.
It will
We
give
just
them
want
more.
to see the trucks get off 500. That's what we want to see.
Well, that's coming relatively soon. Also, just a little bit more of an update. And we've been meeting as a smaller committee within the City Council of coming up with a more strategic plan to, work with property owners and whatnot, within the Skyline Drive project, of how we can move forward a little bit more, expeditiously. They're also, so that's coming soon. And I know you hear that, but for reals, we'll have a good update hopefully within the next month, hopefully. And then within the next month as well, the survey that went out for fiber, it was announced on Tuesday as well from Ann and Dave. That little subcommittee is going to come back and give a much more inclusive report on what, they hope the direction might be, guide the council, I guess, give a recommendation to the council. And then depending on what the council decides, how we move forward with what we want, if we want what we want fiber to look like within the city. And so that's expected to be June 22nd.
For the work meeting, yeah.
Yeah, the work meeting with the council. There's also, so we mentioned the transportation master plan. That will be really good, by the way. I think it will be. It'll give us a better direction, more depth of how to take care of one of our most expensive costs, roads, and maintaining them and what to do about them and get ahead of it, hopefully, keep up with the game and maybe get a little bit more of ahead of the game. But something a little bit more trivial, but way fun, Founder's Day, coming up soon. And we did, Jim, we put in a request for a flyover. Tim Billings helped us out that way. We're still waiting to receive a response. We ordered your shirts. You guys are getting geared up to help serve at the Salmon Bank. Everything's full force. The parade, the movie, the goose shakes. Oh, here's one. June 14th, Flag Day. Our Pleasant View Veterans Monument, you will all be receiving an invitation to come to the groundbreaking ceremony. And it will be at noon. There will be a light lunch served. We hope you can all make it. And it will be out on the front, Bowling Green of our city office building, where we will break ground. The Utah's congressional delegation has been invited. A lot of, business owners and people that we have sent letters out to, local business owners, residents, and so you will be receiving an invitation, and we have a great program. It's not lengthy, but a few speakers and a couple musical numbers, and turning a little bit of dirt with pretty gold shovels. So I hope you all can come on Monday, June 14th.
Sounds exciting.
What time would that be, Sarah?
12 o'clock here at the city office building. So please come. We're going to be setting up tents and have chairs, and Lost Texan Barbecue is going to be catering. I talked to cute Marty Hammond, James Hammond's wife, tonight about what we're eating, and already have some. I don't know if you know Lexi Lefevre. She's the music Sterling Scholar at Weber High. She'll be singing the national anthem, and then we have another musical number that's very touching. It's about World War. It's called "Tell My Father." I don't know if you guys want to know all these details, but anyway, it's gonna be good.
It's going to be awesome. And I appreciate Sarah bringing that up, because I actually tonight drafted an email with the invite ready to send to you all. So I'll get it sent. If you are able to attend, please RSVP to myself or to Jill, or just make sure that the city's aware, because we'd like to invite you to participate in breaking the ground that day, and to recognize those planning commissioners that are there in attendance. And so it shouldn't be a very long program. I'm guessing, half an hour to 45 minutes type of thing, but it's going to be impactful and meaningful for sure. So please.
Absolutely. We need planning commission there. You guys are just as much a part of this process of city government as anybody. So it would be great if you could come and bring your spouse or children or whoever you like.
Thank you very much. Looking forward to it, actually.
Remind me the date of Founders Day next month, please.
14th?
June 26th is Founders Day, but the whole week. Another cool thing is we're going to be putting up the flags that we did for Founders Day last year, but put them up 2 weeks early in conjunction with the groundbreaking ceremony.
So will they stay the full 2 weeks?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes. And it will be we'll have them lit up at night, and we'll have some banners out on the front lawn of announcing the project where you can donate, and hopefully some of our big title sponsors and people that, we can recognize that are being a part of this project.
I had goosebumps every time I passed that flag ceremony last year, so that was great.
Oh, awesome.
It is awesome.
And is there certain things that we as commissioners are helping with on that day, and what, you know what I'm saying? Like we used to do the parade, you know what I'm saying?
Okay. On Founders Day. Yes. Ashley, do you want to help serve at the Salmon Bank and be in the parade?
Oh, not just like, me, Ashley. No, I just didn't know if we were doing, oh my gosh. Yes, I would like to be in the parade.
Planning Commission is invited and somewhat expected to be in the parade. And if you want to bring your littles in the parade, that's just great too, whatever you want to do. And then
okay. I just might not be able to do the salmon bake because my best
okay.
friend is getting married in the the daytime, but in the evening.
It's an invitation. If you can make it, great. If you can't, that's okay. So,
okay. I was just saying possibly.
I'll be in Reno with 6 grandkids. So
Reno on purpose?
Well, grandkids on purpose.
I just don't want to be in the parade by myself. It was only if everyone was going to be, but thank you for saying my name. No, only if everyone is doing it will I just do it.
I'll be there. I'll walk with you.
No, I rescind my question.
I'm just
I'm
kidding.
going back to muting myself forever again.
Okay. Appreciate all of you. It's been a great meeting. Let's entertain a motion to adjourn. If I don't hear a motion, we'll just adjourn anyway, so
Motion to adjourn
thank you.
meeting today.
We have a motion and a second. Meeting's adjourned.
Second.
All have a great weekend, a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.